Our invitation today will be by Captain Tony Barnes.
Well, hello, everyone. Hi. I'll only keep you standing for a quick moment. Can I take the document up here? Is that against the rules? Take it off. Yeah. I knew I was in Vegas. You guys can look at my award-winning smile now. So, very quickly, the more we get together, the more we get to learn about one another, which is really exciting to me. And one fact about me is that I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. However, I spent a few years of my life in Salinas, California, a small little agricultural community where I met my wife 17 years ago today. Thank you. And so for my invitation, I want to read an excerpt from one of my favorite books entitled Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, who is from Salinas, California. It says, suppose you didn't have nobody. Suppose you couldn't go into the bunkhouse and play rummy because you're black. How would you like that? Suppose you had to sit out here and read books. Sure, you could play horseshoes till it got dark, but then you'd have to go and read books. Books ain't no good. A guy needs somebody to be near him. A guy goes nuts if he ain't got nobody. Don't make a difference who the guy is as long as he's with you. I tell you, a guy gets too lonely and he gets sick. And that portion of the story reminds me of a great many things, but right now, I want to focus on that context of what it means to be lonely. And I think as we gather here in this meeting together, I think about, and I want to remember those who can't come out, or those who feel lonely or forgotten. And maybe if you would indulge me just for a moment, I want to say a prayer for those who feel like they've gotten sick from loneliness, but also to include prayers for those who have physically gotten sick because of this crazy virus that's going around. And at this moment, I won't go into all the details, but one of our members, Deb, has reached out. Deb Brandon, she's asking for prayer and specifically wanting to focus that prayer on her sister Karen, who is very sick right now, gravely ill, as it's been described. So if you would just bow your head to me for a moment. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. None of it was promised to us, yet you saw fit for us to be here. Your promise in your word says you would never leave us nor forsake us, and so we know that we're not alone. And we want to pray for others who may feel alone, and for those who are feeling sick, and for those who are sick. There's a great many names that might come to our mind, but this afternoon, I focused prayer on Karen, and by extension, Deb. But we're praying for Karen that your comfort and your care would be with her in this moment, that she would know that she's not forgotten, and that she's firmly in your will. We ask that during this time that we get to be together, that we would cherish this moment with one another and not take it for granted. But also, if there's any way that we can reach out and give an encouragement to someone, put that on our hearts today, that we might be intentional about reaching out and sharing a blessing with someone else who feels like they are alone. We thank you for this day. We pray these things in your name. Amen. Thank you.
And for our patriotic song today, Bob Warner has threatened to sing the patriotic song unless we play the video.
So we did something different. So to cover Bob.
Yeah. We can't pull it out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because then when you
Okay.
shut down,
Yeah.
share, and boom, or boom.
Yeah. So
In here.
United States Air Force Academy, United States Military Academy, West Point, United States Postal Academy, and a company called the United States
Thank you, Kurt. I know there was one person who did want to hear Bob Warner sing, but we'll have to.
We saved him.
Join me in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to Zoom, and then we've got 2 more.
And thank you all the people who are helping today, including our amazing audiovisual team. Welcome to all the people who are joining us on Zoom. Yeah, get back in your seat, Michael. We can't welcome you if you're not sitting there. There you go. Oh. Do we have any guests today? Any guests at our meeting? Any visiting Rotary? Oh, I'm sorry, we do have guests.
Just so that you know, Austin, who is a prospective member who is circulating, he's sitting right over there. So he's here again. Hopefully getting a new member very soon. So thank you, Austin. Oh my God. That's the Jesus caption.
So, hi, David Dorson. Good afternoon, everybody. Really great to see the room back in its normal configuration. So I'll introduce DJ Stanholm. DJ is our new executive director for USO here in Nevada. DJ definitely served on every continent where the USO stands. He's been in Asia, Southwest Asia, Europe, and of course here in North America. Most recently came from the USO in Ontario, California. So I'd like to welcome DJ move to Las Vegas, another new veteran. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Lane, and I'm currently the president of the Las Vegas Southwest Club. And I've been here a few times. I know I've seen friendly faces, even though you're masked up. I have 2 different things I would like to share with you real quick. First of all, this money. I've brought a donation to our Santa Claus from our club. So I have raffle tickets for our annual gold raffle. We were not able to do our live event, but we are going to be auctioning off up to $10,000 worth of gold on November 16th during our meeting. So they are $100 a piece. If you would like one, please see up.
It's $2,500 for Santa Claus, you guys.
Any other guests or visiting Rotarians? If not,
Very nice.
thank you. With that, I believe we want to get into the Together We Read presentation. I don't see past District Governor Luann on the Zoom meeting, but hopefully she's watching us on the Facebook live stream.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, teaching youth to succeed. Louder presentation. Teaching youth to succeed through literacy, education, and life skills development is the mission of our club. And I want to talk to you today about Together.
Hold on.
Program. Louder. Okay. Project. Project. Yes, ma'am. Uh-oh, you can pull it off.
Yeah, that's because we don't have, no, she's on house
I
sound.
think President Richard will put it on.
Where is that PowerPoint? This one?
The drama.
Nope. Yeah. Probably be back because it froze.
Mhm.
There we go.
There it is. That's it.
There we go.
And that's Thursday.
And we have to share the
Share
screen. And then share that. And share that.
Go back
Now
to
you're good.
one. Go back to one. You're good. You're going back there.
Okay, all right. So the Together We Read program was literally built from the ground up by Tina and Tony, the two teams. And it was based on a grant that we received from the district and through the work of past president. While it takes a core of people to get the work done, which you see here, this initiative really, I think, displays our mission perfectly, and it represents all of us, not just supporting people, and again, it's supporting people that actually do. With the results that we received, we felt it was really important to bring this to all of you today. And this is just another representation of what makes us, sorry, I'm sorry, the best club in the world, and as Richard said today, the universe. Special recognition goes to Krista. Did you see her here today? I wish she was. She really brought this together for us because in light of COVID and not being able to go to schools, we were able to utilize first the Center's Learning Academy, and she was also able to coordinate the meetings for us. Here you see the setup. As I scroll through the next slides, I'd like to draw your attention to today's wheel. which has a summary and a description of the program for you to read on your own, certainly not for you to read. The results are you'll see that it fully exemplifies the mission of literacy, education, and life skills components. Along with literacy and education, the program was designed to promote 7 executive life skills. One of which, for the adults, is how to fit in big, teeny tiny chairs. Like you see Ryan's friends. That was what we had. But executive life skills, such as focus and control, perspective taking, and I'll pause you and make great points in these slides. Communicate. Making connections. Critical thinking. Taking on challenges. Self-directed and engaged learning. This little girl is self-directed learning. And the best part is not only the numbers, but the impact. 91.7% of the 12 participants reported that they increased their knowledge or skill because of this program. That will have lasting effects for these little faces you see here. The participants were 2 dads, foster parents who never had children, foster parents with multiple children in addition to their own. And the children were ages 2 through 5. That sounds really intimidating. But as an educator, I was incredibly impressed with how organized Tina and Tony made this program. They made it like a replicable program that anyone can implement. You don't have to be a teacher. We implemented 6 sessions each Monday, and I have to tell you that on the Tuesday after not conducting a session on Labor Day Monday, one of the children was desperate and asked, "Where are the grandmas?" Of course, we have no idea. They were really cute. Also, the Monday after all sessions were complete, Tina got an email from one of the parents stating, "I wanted to send a thank you to you and the others from Rotary. Silas and I enjoyed participating in the program, and we are still reviewing a few of the favorites from Monday morning. He was disappointed to learn we didn't have a Thank you again for allowing us to participate and for having a program. I hope it's able to continue for other schools and at Stonebridge. We want all of you to get excited about your own memories. We're hoping to have additional opportunities to do this again through past President Jack's continued work at the district level, and want to be ready. We want you to be ready to volunteer. This is what makes our club so special. This work represents all of us, the best Rotary Club in the entire universe.
Thank you, Nikki. Ryan, want to tell us about the virtual auction?
Yeah. The Cuisine and Octane virtual auction is coming up, and you'll be seeing some more literature about it. We are taking auction items as donations right now, and a few of our members have provided us with pretty amazing stuff, and we get 100% of the proceeds from the donated auction within our club. And then we're also gonna have about 75 other auction items that will be on our list that we also get money for, but not as much as money. Yeah, something that's really good for the auction to come to us with that. The auction's gonna take place on November 19th. Everybody's gonna get a link to see where the auction items are, and we're encouraging everybody to not only bid yourself if you like anything on the auction, but to share that with all your contacts, because we could literally cover the United States with these auction items and the proceeds come back on well. So really cool. Auction will wrap up the evening of our holiday party on December 3rd.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. And now, David Thornton, we have some money for you. Each week, we give out a share what you can
I'm gonna share this too.
afford and make a donation to the USO to our guest speaker. We'll do it today at the end of this meeting, but
Is this the
we
one?
accumulated a fair amount of share what you can afford amounts, and so it's my pleasure to hand over
Oh, for crying out loud, can we get this thing out?
130
Million.
So thank you, everybody. Real quickly, obviously, we appreciate the support of the Rotary Club and huge supporters of the USO here locally through the foundation. I've invited Ted to come up and recognize Stu as well, so one of our volunteers. Just like the USO, we're a volunteer-driven organization. Probably 98% of our workforce worldwide are volunteers with a very small staff footprint. And so we really enjoy our volunteers. On that note, we have a Warrior Week event coming up here in about 3 weeks. We're going to be inviting 100 service members from all the different branches of nearby top duty stations in for a weekend of fun events in Las Vegas. And if anybody's interested in just coming out and seeing what we do, we have the world pull-up champion is actually just on that Saturday. There'll be a lot of cool stuff to look at. If you just want to kind of see what we're up to, feel free to contact me, or I'll get you in contact with DJ and we'll get you where you need to go to see what you want to see. And then if any of your companies are interested in being involved on supporting your sponsorship basis, I have some information here as well on that. So really appreciate everybody's support and love our volunteers and love the story.
The 25 Club raffle is still going on, and there are still tickets available. If you want to purchase a ticket in the 25 Club raffle to win $5,000, please see one of the 25 Club members. In addition, on your table, for people who don't want to or don't have that much cash in their pocket today, but have some cash or coins, the 25 Club is doing their canned food drive coin collection as well. So please feel free to use the cans on your table.
And speaking of signups over here on the table, we also have signups for donating to Santa Claus and some of the other events. The signups are right here on the table.
Thank you. Along with other clipboards for people to sign up, we're not passing any clipboards anymore. And so please visit that table on your way in or out and see where you can be of service to the club. Next, let's talk about the SOAR Awards. I think everyone has a brochure on their table about the SOAR Awards, but perhaps maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit more.
Hi everyone, I'm Jane Goldsmith. I am the chairperson for the Southern Nevada Safety Officer Award Recognition Program. We are celebrating 20 years of honoring first responders in Southern Nevada. We do not have a ceremony this year. Instead, we have been going to individual departments. We have been to Henderson Police, Henderson Fire, Mesquite Fire and Police, Boulder City Fire, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Nevada Highway Patrol, and University Police at UNLV. We do have a Facebook page, it's Southern Nevada SOAR. If everyone would please go and like our page and share our pictures, we want everyone to know what we're doing to honor our first responders. So there's also a few pictures in the wheel, so we're going to open that up today. And then I put one of our program booklets on each table for everyone to look through. So it has all of the honorees in the book, and you can read about those and see what all they have said. So I actually brought President Richard one of our pins for the SOAR program. And so, you know, I'm so honored to be a member of this club, almost 7 years in March, and it's especially an honor to represent the entire district. And I just want everyone to know how grateful I am to be a member of this club. Thank you very much.
If I get my wings today, does that mean I can fly an airplane? Tim.
It's here today.
Currently not here to remind us about the Peace Conference. If you haven't already registered, it's free, online, it's this Saturday. It has a remarkable group of speakers. There's a flyer, there has been a flyer in the wheel each week for the last month, and there's a flyer in portion of the flyer in today's wheel. I would encourage you again, for everyone in the club who went to the Peace Conference that we were fortunate enough to have here in Las Vegas last year, and they would agree and tell you that it was a very worthwhile investment of their time. Delivering with Dignity is going to make another round of food deliveries on November the 4th. If you're interested in doing that and available and willing, we encourage you to do that in pairs. You're not trying to drive and read the app on the phone at the same time. And please contact either me or Sean as soon as possible so we can get all your names in to the sign-up sheet. And it is actually about as easy and foolproof as they can make it. They send you the app. then follow to the restaurant where you pick up the food, and then to the houses where you make the delivery. So it's, even an idiot like me could accomplish it.
And you just want us to email you?
Yes, please.
All right, my wife and I would like to volunteer for that.
All right. And we already have a number of people from the club signed up, but we can always use more. Past President Jim.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in from Des Moines, Iowa, Todd Wheeler.
Wow.
In the universe, remember, greatest club in the universe.
All right. Let's take a few minutes of fellowship while I find the winning tickets for today's raffle. All right, for the chance to win the draw the Joker, it's somebody in the room. Sorry for the people who are watching on Zoom. Would be ticket number 8488436. It's a red ticket, 8488. The way this works, you can pick a card from the deck. You pick the Joker, you mark it by head. And for the Lowry's bucks, oh, it is somebody on the screen. It's a Zoomer. Karen. Who is that? So Karen, here's your Lowry bucks. Reach down and grab them. Can't hear you. Karen, I'll hand you the Lowry bucks. You'll have to reach down and grab them. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who did participate in that. Now we're going to take, we have 7 minutes left of fellowship time before our speaker begins. Thank you.
Now I just have to figure out how to get those lottery bucks because Tom's got a birthday coming up.
Finally, we'll have to get them to you right away.
Looks like they are taking a lunch break, so I guess we can talk among ourselves until something happens there. As I understand it, there's a cable that Kirk needs to connect the house sound to to us, and that cable is not there today. So we're just hearing the audio that's coming from the microphone that's on the computer that's on the table, and that's why it's so crummy.
Well, I hope they don't forget that cable again because it's horrible sound.
Yeah, it's barely understandable, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Can see the slides okay.
Couldn't hear them though.
No. Well, I'll provide narration. It just won't mean anything.
Well, I did at least hear that I won the lottery bucks.
Yeah, you picked up on that pretty good.
Yeah, I sure did. Actually, Tom's already demanded to go to Lowry's for his birthday, which is November 4th.
I think that's the
Actually,
first Zoom win.
I think so.
Yeah, Arlene
I-
Arlene had the chance to draw last week, but didn't win.
Yeah, she did it in a very creative way. She was directing it rather than have somebody do it as a proxy. She said third card from the left.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a shame. The audio has been so good the last few weeks, and now all of a sudden we have a glitch.
Just one little missing part, huh?
Yeah, well, it's like missing the propeller on the airplane, right? Yeah, you actually can hear pretty good if they stand right in front of the computer. So I was trying to convince them to get away from the podium and just grab that wireless mic and stand in front of the computer, but I don't seem to have a good way to tell them that. So. Oh well.
Is our speaker via Zoom?
I don't know. That would be nice, wouldn't it? At least we could hear the speaker, huh?
At least we'll hear them. The people in the room might not.
No, it's working fine the other way. The
Okay.
two different cables. So yeah, anything we say comes through just perfectly fine to them. It's just the other direction. No, I don't know. I suggested a workaround, which is somebody in the room there take out their cell phone and sign into Zoom, and then they could use that to send us the audio. But I don't think the message got through. We'll have to develop a backup plan that everybody shares for the next time this happens.
All things considered, it works pretty good though. I mean, think of where we were 7 months ago. This is leaps and bounds of where we were.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no question about it.
Tom Crow, I hope it warms up by Wednesday night.
Bring your jacket.
Actually, I think it's pretty nice out right now at night, but I'll tell you what, it's a good thing it's not Sunday night. Sunday night might have been a little cool.
Or Monday night.
Or Monday night, yeah. It's so funny. I've been hoping for it to cool down for the upcoming drag race that I'll be out there all for 3 days, but now I'm hoping it warms back up by then.
Well, it's supposed to be in the 50s on
Right.
Monday. So, yeah, that's crazy here.
Lows of 45.
And I think
So will there be
they
cigar
said something.
smoking on Wednesday night?
Why, what's going on Wednesday night? Is there
Past
a meet?
Past president's meeting.
Oh, okay. That's going to be face to face?
On the patio in the backyard.
Oh, all right. Well, that's good. I
So
haven't
there
tracked
will be cigar smoking?
What was that, Michael?
Will there be cigar smoking?
After the meeting.
Nice, nice.
How do you smoke a cigar with a mask on?
Far away from the others, at least 6 feet away, right?
Okay. I thought maybe you cut a little hole or something in the right spot, or
There's a little slight little filter right around the mouth. It just goes through the filter.
right. Actually, we were at Disney World when our son was young, about 25 years ago, and we went to the Moroccan pavilion in Epcot, where they had a little coffee shop, and there was a young woman there with her kid who was, Muslim, and she was completely covered with hijab. You couldn't see a thing, but they had ordered food, and my wife and son were ready to leave, but they didn't want to leave the table till they figured out how she was going to drink the tea and eat the crumpet with the stuff over her face. And she just lifted up the scarf and put it in and then put it back down again. So
Creative.
they figured it out.
If you're hungry enough, you'll do whatever it's needed, right?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Michael,
Well,
I could tell Samuel was playing with his plane.
Yeah, he was pretty happy when he saw that. He ran straight for it and got that plane. So yeah, I think he's starting to connect you and Tom with that plane.
So I don't even have an idea anymore because it's been so long ago. In normal times, where would he be in nursery school or pre-kindergarten? It's still too early for that, or?
Yeah, he would be in daycare, whatever. So he's not yet in pre-K, but that's gonna come up soon. So I do have a question. Have they announced the venue for the holiday party?
I don't think so, not yet.
No, I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Is that going to be done socially distant?
Who knows? Who knows?
Not much of a party.
Maybe they'll do it via Zoom and send the food over to everybody's house.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Have you seen the recent editions of the Food Network with the Guy Fieri? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
He usually goes out and he visits these diners and drive-ins.
Yeah.
So instead, they've been sending him, each of the diners and drive-ins that have some specialty focus have been sending him a box along with the recipe, and with his kids in his backyard. He cooks it while they're online with Zoom, and they give him directions, and then they eat it. So you're not that far off.
Nice.
I think he's back at the microphone, so we should probably go back on mute.
Okay.
Can you hear me with the mask on? Yeah.
It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our speaker today. Diana Bennett is a longtime Las Vegan. She has followed in her father's footsteps, Mr. William Bennett, who's one of the major casino owners and developers in Las Vegas. And Diana has taken that one step further. She is now one of the leading casino executives in Nevada, the United States, and I like to say the rest of the world. Diana has an extremely interesting background, and I'm not going to talk anymore about it because you can read about it, and she has some great stories to share with you. Please welcome Ms. Diana Bennett.
Thank you so much. I'm going to just take this out because I don't stand and talk well. I think I need to move with my mouth. I don't know how that works, but such an honor to be here today. Since I've been here, I've been asking Richard and Carol and Tom to tell me more about the Rotary Club. And to be very honest, obviously everybody knows about the Rotary Club, but I don't think everybody knows what great things you guys are doing. So it really is such an honor to be here with you. I asked Carolyn, I said, what am I supposed to talk about? And she said, you. And I said, well, then at least I don't have to take notes for this one. We came to Las Vegas in 1966. And my mom died when I was just 13. And my father had been rather wealthy in Phoenix, Arizona. And he really lost everything when my mother died. And talk about not planning your wills when you're 34 years old when you passed away. So we had no wills. We lost everything. We had nothing left but a Mustang convertible. It was the one car that we owned. And my dad never had company. So he had been coming to Las Vegas for quite a few years as a gambler. And a dear friend of his gave him the opportunity to have a job as a casino host up in Lake Tahoe. And he worked for the Sierra Tahoe for Del Webb Corporation. And we lived up on top of a little tiny hill. And we got there in the middle of October, coming from Scottsdale, Arizona. I think my shoes consisted of little pieces of patent leather flats and flip-flops. And it snowed about 3 feet overnight, the very first night when we got there. And I remember going to school. I went to George Hotel High School. And it's a beautiful school that completely overlooks the lake and has a very long sidewalk and all glass classrooms. In my little flats I had on, we hit the ice and I slid about 100 feet in front of all those classrooms, and that was their introduction to me, bloody legs walking in to this school. But it was very interesting to go to a small school up there, and my father actually did quite well as a casino host. And, he had been married, and stepmother was a cage cashier. I got a job at Woolworths. I wanted to be a cheerleader, we couldn't afford to pay for my uniform, so I had a job to pay for my own uniform. And I was telling stories about, highlight entertainment was parking out at the dump and watching the Bears at night, because there really wasn't a lot to do with the kids in Tahoe. But my dad raised fairly quickly and got the job to come to Las Vegas in the beginning of my senior year. And I begged to be able to stay in Tahoe because, like I said, I was a cheerleader and some other things. Moved in with another cheerleader, didn't know her father was an alcoholic. Didn't know that the only thing we were going to eat was what he killed. So I had gutted a deer, plucked the feathers off geese. Not recently, but back then. And went and find bars where her father would be drunk and we would bring him home. So it probably wasn't the greatest life for a teenager. And my grades were slipping. And I came home here for Christmas. That was the first time I could come home. And my dad was standing there with a copy of the failing notice for physics. And I had on a skirt that had a big safety pin because I lost so much weight. And I was devastated that he was going to yell at me for failing physics, but instead he just opened his arms and hugged me and said, I think it's time to come home. So that moved me to Vegas and at Western High School. I thought, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to be, but I had the opportunity to work during the summer for my dad in hotels. And I think that's just in our blood. And so I dropped out of school, ASU, after 2 years and came home and said, I'm going to go work in hotels. That's what I think I'm supposed to do. And I didn't want to work for my dad. That was like an absolute, I was going to find my own job, do my own thing. And so I started looking for jobs and I put on an application next to Ken and I put William G. Bennett. And by this time, he was now head of the Delaware Corporation, managing all the properties in Nevada. So everybody would invariably say, go work for your father. And I would say, that's not what I want to do. And I came home one weekend after I had interviewed with a very nice man by the name of Dave Thomas, who was head of sales at the Flamingo Hotel. And he had also indicated he wasn't going to hire me, but he was very nice about it. And he said, I have 3 daughters. I hope they grow up to be as graceful and intelligent as you, which I just thought was wonderful. I went home and extremely jealous of my father. I was never going to get a job for the rest of my life. It was all his fault. And I then got a call on Monday from Dave Thomas asking if I wanted to come to work. And I said, I was quite certain that you brushed me off and you weren't giving me a job because I didn't intend to. But he said the woman we did hire for the job actually turned out to be a hooker and couldn't get her sheriff's license. So they were desperate for someone to answer the phone. And that really began my gaming career. Hey, take whatever I can get. And so I worked at the Flamingo and I was all of about 19 years old and first started as a receptionist. And within a year, I actually had my own little office and had my own little secretary. I think I was probably making out my money at all. It's catering manager. I'm sorry, I didn't walk in front of you guys. And I decided I needed a raise, which I wanted to do. So I went and asked the general manager for a raise. And he said, we'll give you business cards. So I said, okay. I said, a couple more months went by and I went in and asked for a raise again. And he said, we're going to give you pink embossed business cards because this was for Flamingo, where I had a pink Flamingo. 2 months later, went back and asked for a raise again. They said, we're giving you gold embossed business cards. And back then, it just, the saying was, you're young, you're not married, you don't have children to support. So the fact that we're not paying you anything, that we paid the gentleman whose position really didn't matter. And soon began the glass ceiling that was so easy. I couldn't join the Nevada Hotel Sales Association because it was mostly all men and they did things that weren't necessarily, they didn't want a 20-year-old girl around them, so I needed to join that association. And went through what I think if you ask most women if they were in this city of ours growing up, a lot of barriers and a lot of issues. But back then, we didn't have a choice. If I was chased around the table and I went to HR and complained, the answer was, do you know how many people would like your job? And they were right. And I just kept my head down and kept on working. And then did fall in love, get married, took 10 years off, had my children, greatest thing I've ever done, 3 amazing children. And then faced a divorce and going back to work. And it was the same thing. I didn't want to work for my dad. And but the gentleman who did work for my father said, I think you can really be helpful to your father's company. As a marketing secretary, I'm sure that meant a lot to my father. But now I had a child support and I needed a job, so I worked. And I really found that I wasn't succeeding in my own mind because everything was just, you're here because of who you water. And I think people just naturally assumed that we had all been born with golden spoons and had never really worked hard in my life. They didn't understand everything my father had been through. They didn't understand the life we'd been through. They didn't understand that as a single mom with one child, I needed the job. I didn't get any money from my father. I needed to work. I needed to feed my child. And so invariably, some guy comes along, you fall in love, you get married again, have 2 more children, and then try to go back into the workforce. And this time I was really fortunate because I went into the interview with 2 people. One was Bert Cohen, who has been a long-time gamer in this business, and he was at the time a designee. And the other one was Mike Henson, who eventually became chairman of the board of Service Enterprises, but he at the time had a couple of small casinos. I interviewed with Bert Cohen first, and he said, absolutely, call me on Monday, got a job, don't worry about it. I was supposed to interview with Mike, I went to see Mike, and he hired me on the spot. Which was really, really a good thing, because the paper on Monday morning said Burton Cohen resigned as your president. So I think that was a good choice. And then I just had this great fortune when I worked for Mike. Mike just said, what is it you want to do? And I said, well, I know marketing. And he said, great, you're now marketing director. And he said, what else do you want to learn? And I said, as much as I can. So I did my marketing job 5.5 days a week, and then 2 extra shifts. I worked in the slot department because I wanted to learn slots. I thought that's where the really money was going to come at some point. And I had the opportunity to learn from a very smart young man who made me take apart slot machines, put them back together, and read the bar sheets for the machines, everything. It was the best education I could have had. And so eventually, I also had decorated my office at the Pioneer Club downtown, which was a broom closet. And Mike Inston said, you got $300 to see what you can do with it. And fortunately, in their warehouse, they had some old wallpaper, and we hung the wallpaper, put a little desk in it, got everything decorated under the $300, and it actually looked really good. But every 15 minutes, if you've ever were at Pioneer Club a long time ago, you heard, howdy, partner, welcome to downtown Las Vegas. He was housed in the little spot next to my room closet. So I eventually got used to him, much like you get used to a grandfather clock. But when you have a guest sitting in your office and that goes off in a very loud voice, it's scary things them. But so Mike decided that if I could decorate that office for $300, I could now become their interior decorator and decorate the hotels. He built 3, and I was the interior designer for all 3 of them. And they all had flocked wallpaper and were really quite horrible. But that was it at the time. And I learned how to lay out the slot floor and set up slots. So that became the thing I was best at. And we were out there in Jean, because we have the 2 casinos out in Jean. And one day my dad called me up and he said, don't you think maybe it's time you came to work for me? And I said, no, I'm quite happy where I'm at. Well, he had sent spies out to the hotel where I was working and found out that my dollar machines were making $300 a day. And nothing on the strip made that much money. And so a few months later, he asked again, don't you think it's time you come work for me? And I again said, no, I'm quite happy where I am. The 3rd time he called, he said, I need you to come work for me. And I put it in a whole different tone, and I resigned from Mike and I went to work for my dad, taking over the slot department at Excalibur. And that's when I really learned about the good old boy scenario. When I got into my office the first day, there was a compartment, there was like a closet next to my office, and I opened it up and it was filled with beer and alcohol and refrigerator. And I said to my assistant, why are we doing alcohol storage in the slot department? She said, that's not alcohol storage, that's your alcohol for Friday. The previous guy would just invite all the slot managers or slot builders to come over and they would just start drinking. So tell the liquor department to come back and get all their stuff, because there's not really any more Friday afternoon get-togethers. And here, of course, none of the guys would have gotten together with me anyway. When the gaming show would come around and IGT and all the big companies would send out their invites, I would usually get my invite 1 or 2 days following the event, because they would usually have strip club. And once again, they didn't want me there. But it was a great opportunity, and we opened up Luxor, and I learned so much and had such fortune to be able to learn from great people. And eventually, I'll just skip a whole lot of it, but eventually it was time for starting my own company. And I started a company with my cousin, Scott Nicky, who just passed away about a week ago. And we had a great time. We started building a gaming casino in California that was very successful. We got involved in Canada, built 3 casinos in Canada. We have management contracts here with Riviera and Westgate, and we now own the Hard Rock in Tahoe. And so my career has been varied and interesting, and I can't think of other thing that I would like to do. The gaming business changes every day. You have to keep learning, and eventually that glass ceiling has been broken by women. There's a great deal of women now in the gaming industry that are rising stars. I'd like to think that I mentored 1 or 2 of them along the way, but it's just been a fascinating business, and I can't imagine doing anything else. And now at the time I thought I was going to retire, I'm actually going to get much deeper into it, because I figured out how to run a company all by myself. But I wouldn't change it, and I'm grateful for all the years I've had. So that's my story. The name of my company is Paragon Gaming. People ask why we call it Paragon, and it's really interesting because we wanted to call it Phoenix Gaming, because both my cousin and I were born in Arizona. He in Glendale, myself in Phoenix, so we thought that would be a good name. And we got everything prepared, our business cards, figured out the logo, everything, and then when we went to trademark the name, we found out it was already a Phoenix Gaming. So we couldn't do that. So well, now you got to come up with something with a P, because we have all this stuff already. So I took out a dictionary, which we actually still had back then, and started going down through the P's and came to the word paragon, which besides its normal meaning that you would think of as a paragon of virtue and height and all that, also means a huge pearl. And I thought, I love jewelry, let's make it paragon. And that's where the name came from.
But are your business cards gold embossed?
No, my cards now are just plain white.
Any other questions?
So, Annie, just as you're known as sort of one of the top women in gaming, you're also known as one of the top philanthropists. What got you started in your philanthropy?
When my daughter was 10 years old, she just stopped growing. And she stopped losing her baby teeth. There was a whole lot of physical changes that happened to her. And I started taking her to doctors to find out what was wrong with her. And nobody could figure it out. And it took it took 5 years actually, going from everywhere, from scripts to every doctor here in San Francisco. I was accused of having Munchausen's by proxy. Being a mother that, just because my daughter started gaining all this weight, she'd always been a super skinny little kid. And so I was told by one doctor that I was a very vain woman who wanted my daughter to be tall and thin, and I just couldn't accept the fact that I had a chubby little girl. And when I was, I finally took her to a doctor. She had the flu, and I just took her to a family doctor. And after he examined her, it was Elias Bond, been around long enough, no Elias. And he took me outside, and he said, you know, my darling, there is something wrong with this child. And I said, yeah, she's a flu. And he went, no, there's something seriously wrong. I don't like her skin, I don't like this, there's something wrong. Just burst into tears. I said, I've been working for 5 years to get someone to tell me that there's something wrong with my daughter. And he set us up at UCLA. And for 3 months, we spent the summer at UCLA fighting between pediatric neurologists and pediatric endocrinologists. We finally determined that she had a pituitary adenoid tumor on her base of her brain. And that had been affecting the pituitary gland, as you probably know, affects all the other hormones in your body. And so in her case, it stopped producing any growth hormone, and it was just filling her body with testosterone, basically. But when I was at UCLA, because you wonder how is this getting into philanthropy then? When I was at UCLA, I saw how wonderful they were with the parents of all of these children that were in the pediatric ward at UCLA. They housed these parents. They made sure they were kept informed. I mean, there was a little boy who literally had half of his brain removed. And he, because there's so little, the other half of your brain actually takes over. And this little boy walked and talked, and his parents had been through hell, but they were so grateful. And I just thought to myself, we don't have anything like this in Las Vegas. I've had to go everywhere to try to find something. And so when I came home and she was finally well and comfortable, I called up the UMC Foundation and I said, I don't have a lot of money, but I want to volunteer for whatever foundation you have. I'll do anything you want to do, but I want to be a part of making medicine better. And I was on that foundation for about 10 years, till, if you have been around a while, you recall UMC got in a bit of trouble. And that particular CEO that they brought in actually kicked our foundation out. And we were part of Children's Miracle Network. And I was at the time chairman, and I froze our bank accounts. I refused to let him have the money and held him with that money for about 4 years. Well, we battled with him as to where the money was supposed to go, and then finally we were able to write a check for a little over $4 million to the part-time commissioner and give it to them to ensure that that guy never had the time of it. And I knew he was bad in the moment. Well, he just lied. And he tried to punch me in the face. That was a good one. Right across the table and tried to punch me. That's what got me. Does any of the Zoom people have a question? Oh. It's not a question, but your dad actually helped us found the document on the house. So, thank you. Yeah, he was a very interesting philanthropist, my father. He, for the most part, did it very quietly and unassumingly. He would see something on TV, a policeman being killed, and he would just anonymously set up a fund for the wife and family. He didn't like to be asked for money at all. It's a great story. At UNLV, one day, Carol Harder was the president at the time, and her her secretary came and said, Mr. Bennett is on the phone, and he was so angry. And so Carol got on the phone, she said, Mr. Bennett, is there a problem? And he said, I had you guys come to Sahara to do some work in my sales department, and you charged me $5,000. He said, as much as I've done for the university, I cannot believe you charged me $5,000. She said, Mr. Bennett, I'm so sorry, We'll just consider the bill paid, don't worry about it, I'm so sorry. And he said, I understand you're building a new education center for children at the university. And she said, yes, sir, I am. And he said, how much is that projected to cost? And she said, $5 million. And he said, okay, I'll send you a check for $5 million. She said, Mr. Bennett, do you realize this call has cost you $4,995,000? And he said, yes, but it's my decision, not yours.
You picked a lucky day to be here. Every speaker we present is a Share What You Can award. We make a donation to the USO Community Service Program. And so it's my pleasure, since you so gave $1 million to them.
I know.
It's your million.
Thank you.
I guess we're gonna have one late fine. Janice wants to be fined, so she asked if she had the microphone, and then I'll let you decide how much we should fine her.
Okay, I'm sorry to end it on this note, but I'm very troubled today with the prayer for Deb was so amazing, thank you. But when I think of this woman who's 57 years old fighting for her life, and they're making the decision to take her off of life support tomorrow. This woman lives in South Dakota, in a rural area, and her and her husband did not venture out all these months during COVID. And if you know, the governor of South Dakota is anti-mask. So they decided one day they were tired of being at home. They went to a festival, and the next day, Karen fell ill. So thank you on behalf of Deb. She's getting ready to get on a plane soon, and I'm sorry to end on this note, but please, everybody wear your mask and put it over your nose. If you see people not wearing it right, say something. We'll hope you don't get punched in the face, but thank you guys, and that prayer was amazing. I know Deb, I was just texting her, she really appreciated it. Sorry to end on this note, but thanks.
I don't think we'll find it. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy your week coming up. Meeting adjourned.
Bye, Zoomers.
Bye, Karen. Bye, all.
Bye, you guys.
Goodbye,
Adios.
everybody. Take care. Have a good week.